Hello, this is an instructional video on how to tune the violin. The first thing that I'm going to show you is the name of the strings. The violin has 4 strings. As you can see from the picture, the first string is on the left side here. You're going to take your instrument and turn it this way towards you, and the strings are facing you. So the first string that we're going to talk about is the E string, and the E string is the first string on the right, and the E peg is the bottom right peg. Each string is wrapped around a peg, so there are 4 strings and 4 pegs. Okay, the A string is right next to your E string. It's the second string from the right, and it's the top right peg. The A peg is the top right peg. Then following that, you have the D string, and the D string peg is the top left peg. And then finally, on the far left, on the left side, is the G string, and the G peg is the bottom left peg. So this chart will help. If you turn the instrument this way and you look at the strings, you can find the strings easily. Okay, the important thing is to know that which peg you're turning, because if you're turning the D peg while you're trying to tune the A string, you'll pop the D string and you'll break a string. Okay, so it's always good to check either the chart, or you can look at the string and then see which peg it's wrapped around by looking up in the peg box here. Okay, so next we're going to talk about a tuner. So you need a tuner to help you tune the strings. You can find a tuner on an app store. There are many free tuners available on app stores. Some of them are better than others. You can check with me if it's a good tuner or not, or you can just try it out yourself, and if you like it, then that's fine, and if it works fine, that's good. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to show you is a tuner that I'm going to use online today through a web page. I don't use this tuner, but I'm going to use it today to show you how to tune. You can use this tuner at home if you want to, and the web address is at the top left. I'm going to start with the A string, because we always start with the A string when we tune. Okay, so before we start tuning, there's one more thing you need to know. Each string has a frequency and a sound wave, and we tune the violin strings a fifth apart. So this is called an interval, and we don't need to get into a lot of detail right now. But the most important thing, and the only thing you really need to know, is the number and the letter. So E string, this is E string, E5 equals 659.3. Okay, that's the frequency that you want the sound, the pitch to be. Okay, A4 is 440, D4 is 293.7, and G3 is 196. So these are going to be important for you to tune your instrument. I'm going to show you. You don't actually have to use this to tune your instrument, but it's a good place to start when you don't know anything about an instrument at all. You can just look at this chart and it'll help. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is actually to start tuning. If you look at the tuner, you have the number and the letter name, the pitched name here. Okay, so I want it to be an A4 because I said we start with A4. And then here's the frequency like we just talked about. So A4 is 440. So you're going to take your instrument like this, okay? And then you're going to you can pluck the string if you want, like this, or you can use the bow. It's better to use the bow because it produces more sound. But if you want to start by plucking the string. Okay, so play the string, the A string. 403. So that means that I need to go higher. The pitch needs to go higher. Okay, so the pitch is down here, the sound needs to go higher because of the number and because of the sound where it's at. Okay, so I'm going to take the instrument, and before we had it this way, the strings facing us. That was just to find the strings. Okay, now you got to turn it this way. So your A peg is on your left side now, okay? Top left side. You can always find it here and then check. So you're gonna turn the peg towards you to make it go higher. Turn it back this way, back, and it'll make the pitch go higher. As you're turning, you're gonna push the peg in a little bit because it'll slip if you don't. So here's my A, it's too low. I'm gonna turn it this way towards me. Okay, it says G sharp 4. That's a little closer. 425, that's better. It's a little bit more. Okay, so sometimes it's off a little bit, but you have to use the bow. Okay, now this is A sharp 4. So, and the frequency is 450. Okay, so I need to go, pitch needs to go lower now. I went too far when I turned the peg. So the pitch needs to be lowered. To do that, I'm going to turn the peg the opposite direction. It's going to go away from me. I'm turning it away from me. And as I'm turning, I am putting the peg in a little bit. Okay, that sounds about right. Let me play it again. Okay, 438, 439. That's really good. That's close to 440, which is okay because I don't expect you to tune it perfectly, and usually it's off a little bit to begin with, so that's okay. You're not expected to tune perfectly the first couple for a while. You know, it's something that takes practice, and it gets better as the more you practice tuning, the more you tune, and eventually you can tune without even using the frequency and just by ear. If you are around a music a lot, you can just listen and be able to pretty much hear whether you're in tune or not. And if you're not sure, you can always check with the tuner, of course. Okay, the next string that you're going to tune is the D string. The D string, if you remember, is supposed to be at 293 for the frequency. D4 293. Okay, so we're going to go back to the tuner, and I'm going to pluck the D string. Here's the D string. It's really out of tune. It's A sharp 3. It's A sharp 3. So it needs to go up to 4. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the instrument away from me like this. Find the D string and the peg, and then turn the peg towards me because the pitch is here. It's a 3. It needs to go to a 4. So that sounds closer, so I can check with the bow. Okay, it's 260. Okay, it's 265, and it's a C4. So it has to be up one more step to a D. It needs to be 290. C sharp. Okay, let me check. Okay, D4, 297. So again, too high now. Okay, you can always use the fine tuners. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the fine tuners. If you get close to 293, then you can always use the fine tuner to help. Now they look like little buttons at the bottom of the strings, and they're on the tailpiece. Okay, so here is, I only have one fine tuner, and it's actually not on the tailpiece, it's hooked up higher, okay? But this is the fine tuner, and usually when you play the violin for a long time, you only have one fine tuner for the E string. Okay, but if it's a student violin, then of course they have all of their tuners, or they're expected to have all their tuners, fine tuners. So you can turn the fine tuner, and if you want it to go, the pitch to go lower, then you turn the fine tuner this way, counterclockwise. Okay, if you want the pitch to go higher, then you would turn the fine tuner clockwise. I know it can be a little confusing giving the directions because it can change depending on if you're turning the fine tuner from this side or if you're turning the fine tuner from this side. So you can just try turning it in each direction and look at the frequency, and then you'll be able to tell which way you need to turn the fine tuner. Okay, so my D string was at 293. Okay, and now it's at So for right now, it's important to tune the A string and the D string because those are the ones that you're using the most. And you can use this chart that I showed you to find the other frequency for the other strings if you need to. But today I'm only going to show you the A string and the D string. Okay, so you can look at this chart and you can use the fine tuner that I showed, the tuner that I showed you on the webpage, or you can download your own tuner from App Store. Okay, the more you practice, the easier it'll get, and you'll be able to tune your instrument. Faster and more accurately. So I'm not expecting it to be like perfect or anything, just as long as you can tune it closer to what it should be for the lesson. I know it's very difficult if you don't know anything about instruments, and I know you might be worried about breaking a string. That's understandable, but I think you should try because it's a great thing to learn. And if you need any help, you can ask me some questions. I'll see you in class, in lessons.